Most would call the high-banked beast in the heart of Alabama as the most chaotic venue ever seen in stock car racing. But the race for the title sees the opportunity at embracing the swan song tonight at the most visited track in series history. The storied virtual Talladega Superspeedway brings in the 16 drivers vying for a championship, where tonight we welcome you to the second race of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach 10 Digital, and the playoffs and coverage of the Sunday Circle Farm 80 live on Podium Esports. Welcome to the final edition of MNR Racing at Talladega, Alabama, and we're so happy to bring you along for the ride. We're alongside Dylan Connolly back in the booth for tonight's action. I'm Kenneth Bueno. Eddie Smith is our producer for the evening. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. While we're in the holly jolly mood here before Christmas, we'll take the 2-week break, or a week or so break before we come back in the new year, but we are embracing chaos. 100% Dylan's second race of the first round in these MNR playoffs for Season 7. It's one last time at this 2.66 mile super speedway in the South. This one is going to be all contentious and possibly very wild when it comes down to who's trying to advance, how desperate drivers are, how things are going to fare when that checkered flag comes up.
First off, Kath, I've missed you, man. It's been a couple weeks.
I
hadn't been in the booth. I've missed y'all. But anyway, this is the biggest, the baddest, the fastest racetrack that they could possibly go to. The NextGen car, you know, they've changed a few things in the draft parameter with that last update that came out 2 weeks ago. I mean, I got no idea what's going to happen tonight. I just hope it's entertaining.
It's just one of those tracks where, Dylan, you always come here, you really quite never know what to expect. And while we have a bit of notes jotted down from our last super speedway affair at Daytona International Speedway, well, we never know exactly what's going to transpire here in Talladega, Alabama as we dive further into these Monday Night Racing playoffs. And as we move forward, tonight will be a huge step for many of those in each of their respective groups. Here's a look at the point standings for the playoffs as it stands. Group A led by the winner last week at Homestead, Miami, Cole Cabry, leading by 8 over Adam Cabot. Then Group B, Colin Fern and Bailey Turner lead their group, both separated by 4 points. Group C is one of the larger disparities in points between the first two drivers. Chase Cabry leading it, Joey Padgett right behind, 11 points down, and it's the same 11-point difference for Group D, Presley Sora and Michael Fisher, both of them currently in the spot to move forward. And Dylan, this is really going to be the race that dramatically shakes things up. You're looking at the top two in each group that make it through the playoffs to the next round. How important is this race going to be for those drivers at the bottom end of each group trying to push their way forward?
Well, I think you're going to see your guys like Cole Cabry, that's got a pretty decent margin, Chase Cabry as well. I think they're going to try play it safe and just try to, you know, if they get a top 10, you know, that's good. You know, if they get, you know, a decent finish with that wreck in the car, that's a good point stave until we go off to next week. But your guys like Connor Berry, Joshua Slade, it's almost hanging out of the ring time. I think they're gonna see them, you know, try to make up as many positions as possible, make those hasty moves there early in the race, just try to get track position and give themselves as many points as possible, you know, because after tonight, there's only one round left before we move to round 2.
And for a race like Talladega, you'd imagine that in these super speedway races, those drivers who are desperate or those that haven't been able to contend with the heavy hitters at most of the tracks and car combos throughout the season, these super speedway races is basically, they're the opportunities to get up there, to go for wins, and to contend as closely as possible. Now, this is the second super speedway race of Season 7 in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series. We visited Daytona all the way back in October 16th. So just a couple of months ago, Dylan, we were with these next-gen cars at the World Center of Racing. Fast forward to a couple of months later here in December, we're with the NextGens tonight at Talladega. It's the last super speedway race you will ever see in Season 7, Dylan. This is going to be very big, especially when you consider the next couple of races. 2 of the next 3 have 2 new cars making their debut this season, the late model stock and the Mazda MX-5.
Yeah, the Talladega is considered the great equalizer in real life and in the virtual sim racing world. I mean, you see it all the time, different events going on, and even in NASCAR, you'll see upset winners. Like the first one I think of is Bobby Hamilton Jr., but it's the great equalizer. Anybody that starts the race tonight can win this sucker tonight. It's going to be a good race tonight, and again, you know, we look back at Daytona. Daytona, it was kind of running up against the wall, single line fest, but now tonight I've seen them go 3, 4, 5 wide in practice.
And we look here at our track map with images courtesy of Google Earth. Talladega Superspeedway, the famed 2.66 mile D-shaped oval located in Lincoln, Alabama. This behemoth of a track has 32 to 33 degrees of banking in the turn, 16.5 degrees on that tri-oval. And one thing to note that we always take notice of every time we come here, Dylan, that start-finish line, not in the middle of the tri-oval like it is at Daytona in North Florida rather. It's all the way a couple of 100 feet after. So in that little bit of distance between the end of the tri-oval and the beginning of turn 1, that's where you find that chase. That extra speed, that extra space could mean the difference between winning and losing tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Larry Reynolds talks about it every single time that, you know, they come to Talladega. You know, I can't think of how many races I've seen here in my lifetime where the guy leading about where the start-finish line would be traditionally doesn't end up winning the race.
And as this track built to 1969 has created highlights, big crashes, and huge moments ever since it first broke ground and unveiled to the NASCAR public when they brought stock cars here. It's been the same in the virtual world here in Monday Night Racing. The 10th time that this series runs at Talladega, there has never been a winner more than once. Everybody has won once, and that's it. We've never had anybody go 2 here at Talladega. Let's get you trackside for tonight's Sunday Circle Farm 80 here for the second race of the Monday Night Racing playoffs. And on the pole will be the defending winner of this race from 1 season ago, Lane Sabile, making his debut run in Season 7. And what better way to do it than at the track and combo that he won at not too long ago. Mario Miranda, the rookie sensation, on his outside closes out row number 1 to the green flag. Gary Sexton, great qualifying effort for him. He brings the 3 car to 3rd at the green. Corey Heim, defending champ, going to be on his outside in row number 2. Bonin Rahman in the number 44 has some work to do in his respective group for the playoffs in Group A. He'll try to bounce back here as he starts 5th. On his outside, the La Mirada, California native of Ryan Vargas in the 26 machine. Adam Cabot rolls off from 7th on the grid tonight. Matt Stonick behind him in 8th place for row number 4. And rounding out the top 10, Bailey Turner in the 5 car in 9th. And Season 5 champ Presley Sora rounding out the top 10.
Back here in row number 6, we have James Bickford and Jordan Busters, a 50 series spotter. Back in the next row, Colin Fern and Connor Berry. Connor won a couple weeks ago. Nick Olson and Mark Rabillis back in row number 8. Row number 9, the last drivers set a time. Steve Offon set a time of 53.3. All the rest of these drivers are set based on the iRating that did not set a time. Blake McCandless, you'll hear him on Tuesday nights in the Coke Series. And the Cabry brothers rounding out row number 10.
Back in row number 11, you'll find Raja Karuth in the 13 car. Then Grit Esports is Brandon Haupt on his outside in 22nd. Corey Deucer and Michael Fisher, surprised to see these 2 speed factor Fords so far down the running order there in row number 12. Christopher Tate, 25th, and then 26th to Brandon Brown in row number 13. Now behind them, Joey Padgett, who was DQ'd. He's running on Reed Wilson's account due to iRacing accidentally just disqualifying him in the middle of the qualifying session. So we'll just clarify that over the race. Stephen Ellis will start 29th. Josh Slate ending row 15 in the top 30. And Jordan Black, who has one of the highest average finishes in Monday Night Racing, and only 3 starts, he'll roll off from dead last, 31st to the green flag. Let's get a look at your race analysis before we get started, and our car analysis as well. Decon, these next-gen cars are born to draft the race. The underbodies on the race cars, of course, the draft aspects and the parameters with the Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford built for NASCAR in 2022. These are really fun to drive at these super speedways, and they give you a chance, no doubt, in the draft.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, they're so sucked up to the ground, you could almost fit a sheet of paper between the car and the ground now. We'll take a look at the race analysis for tonight. 213 miles, 80 laps, pit road speed 55. They're going to pace at 65. They'll have 3 attempts at the green, white, checkered. No fast repairs. They're going to start with a full tank of gas, and they will have 5 sets of tires available in the pits. I can't imagine that they'll use more than 1 or 2 unless they spin out, but I guess we'll see in 80 laps.
Shorter race than we expected for sure due to the later start time at 9 p.m. Eastern, but this is the same lap distance that we saw at Daytona in the second race of the regular season with these next-gen cars ready to go playoff racing here in the heart of Alabama. 2 Toyota Camrys bringing us to green. Lane Sabile looking to go 2 in a row with this combo. Mario Miranda on the outside of him waiting for the green. They've got it. We're playoff racing from Talladega in the Sunday Circle Farm 80. And we are already 3 wide at the conclusion of lap number 1. Matt Stallneck helped by the 29 of James Bigford, making it 3 by 3. Multiple rows deep. Corey Heim has the lead for now, but we are dead even when it comes to P1. Right out of turn 2, the 41 has it, and a big push to the back of Mario Miranda by Ryan Vargas. Give the lead to Matt Stallneck on the back straightaway.
So there was one interesting thing that was talked about pre-race by Leighton Sabila. You're almost at a disadvantage starting in first place because the outside line and the highest line on the racetrack, they're going to have more room to operate. And, you know, Leighton, he ended up starting on the pole, but he was all the way back in 4th or 5th position after that first lap. But the 2 guys that started 2nd and 4th leading both lines, and now Matt Stallneck, who started 8th, up here leading this pack.
But the good news for Leighton Sabile, pole sitter, is that he is right behind his Hog Tamers teammate, Corey Heim. Both of them going to settle in 11th and 12th. You see immediately the single file action. We went 3 wide for a bit of a moment. Then lap 3 came. Everybody all nose to tail riding behind that number 41. You see Mark Rebillis in that 99 machine, the colorful Toyota Camry. We try to look for position on the inside, at least clear away with Blake McCandless right behind him, and one car peeking down low. But for the most part, Decon, everyone biding their time here at lap number 3. We probably expected that 3 wide would be the consensus like it was at lap number 1. Guess everybody settled that out quite quickly. Now all single file as here comes Mark Rebillis diving down, but thinks better of it. Now McCandless looking for some clean air.
You know, I'd have to imagine a lot of these guys are kind of like, okay, yeah, we could go 3 wide right now, and we could make this, you know, really fun to watch. But I think they want to just save their equipment till later in the race. So very understandable that they're going to be like this right for now, but I don't imagine it being a single file line for the next 60, 70 laps. But that's kind of what the mindset is, I would imagine, is they don't want to wreck up a bunch of cars for no reason. And, you know, I think we'd be okay with that. I think they're okay with
car
that.
on the wall. Nick Olsen as he got blocked by Blake McCandless, and down the track went Mario Miranda in reaction as they all stacked up. McCandless went down looking for clean air but lost a bit of the draft. Then came Nick Olsen. The 71 went right up the track into the 24, chopping his nose off. He went into the wall. Miranda got the worst end of it, and he is dropping position like a rock all the way down to the top 20 and even further than. Miranda, unfortunately, getting the short end of the stick there.
Well, Kenneth, I guess I was wrong. I think they want to race a little bit right now, but I mean, Blake McCandless making the moves up here. He's falling back just a little bit now. He's in the sucker hole now on the bottom. It's kind of weird to see it right now that the high line is the right line right now, but you know, Matt Stallneck still in control of this pack, and they're back single file because they about had the big one about a lap and a half ago.
They settled out with the 89 and the 71 both dropping position in their place now. Ryan Vargas, Connor Berry, and of course right behind there's McCandless all the way at the inside, who was basically the top line hero last week at Homestead in Miami, came home with a top 10 finish, and now slides right in between Heim and Gary Sexton, so he'll be in 7th place. Everybody remains mostly single file apart from McCandless. Now Sexton will dive to the bottom of the racetrack. They're going to give each other help. Mark Rebillis not too far behind either, trying to do something on the very bottom. I can imagine, Decon, this is the field taking notes from Daytona, because we saw everything get really chaotic at the beginning of that race. All of a sudden you had a pretty decently sized crash, and then what was the result? Everybody ran clean, everybody took it to a strategy race all the way until the checkered flag. So it was mostly just an affair of learning from the chaos at the beginning to settle for a clean race near the end. But I can imagine right now it's just all about maintaining your position and just making sure you're alive, especially if you're a playoff driver.
Oh, what? It was that many famous racers have said, to finish first, you must first finish. But you can't finish the race if you don't have a decent car, I'd imagine. But you know, one thing that happened that Daytona race is they got real. A lot of cars just jostling around for position, and they were playing bumper cars, and nobody actually spun out, and it just busted up the pack, and it resulted in a 5-6 car pack for the lead while everyone else is playing catch up for the next 50 laps.
And you're also looking at the trend of the last couple of races, both, of course, at 1.5-mile tracks. Can't necessarily compare it apples to apples to this super speedway race, but if you want to make that comparison, you could say that Atlanta and Homestead, they went rather cleanly. Atlanta had some cautions at the beginning to shake things up, but it went green as a strategy race all the way to the checkered flag. We had a fantastic finish between Bailey Turner and Adam Cabot. Then came Homestead Miami. No caution seen at all. They went green from lap 1 all the way to lap 166. So some of them really want to keep this trend going in the series, and still, dominant line, the top 3 cars at the bottom with Sexton in the middle of that group, McCandless leading, Mark Rubilis at the tail end of it, and you've got only 2 cars at the back end, near the background. That's Brandon Brown and the driver right in front. That is the 46 of Stephen Ellis. They'll tag along a 3rd. That is the 01 of Josh Slate. This seems to be the mindset, Decon. Topside with these next-gen cars, a little bit too OP when you have everybody organized like they are at the moment.
It's just kind of trippy to watch because everyone's kind of used to, you know, watching in real life or in sim racing, you know, the bottom line, of course, the fastest way around. So you would think that, you know, even these 5 or 6 cars that are on the bottom, if they got nose to tail, they would overpower this top line. But that's not the case. They're getting draft from 2 different entities there. They're getting it from the car in front of them and up against the wall there.
And you're also looking at 2 different outlooks at the exit of the corner and even at the entrance too. You're looking at the inside line that, of course, will have the shortest way around the racetrack. So theoretically, at full throttle, you can say that will be the fastest. But when you add in the context of the draft, you come out of these 32 to 33 degree banked corners here in Talladega, you're looking at a huge one you can build off. The banking, especially here on the Alabama gang, super stretch. You're leading into turn 3. You've got that inside that can have a bit of momentum at the jump. But if you don't have enough drivers there and you have a lot of guys up top organized quite well, you're not really going to find success. Car sideways and a car in the wall.
Wow.
Stephen Ellis hard into the safer barrier, brings Brandon Brown up with him. And that will bring out the first yellow of the night at lap number 9 of 80. Stephen Ellis getting the worst end of it and going hard head on into the wall.
That was a big accident. I'm amazed that didn't take up a lot more cars than it did. As we're going to take a look at the replay. Stephen Ellis, he was running probably close to the edge of the pack, and I couldn't tell who that is in the hot pink car. He just got the worst end of that. He got fishtailed into the wall. Looks like Stephen Ellis' night is done.
And that was the Reed Wilson machine, technically, but under the run of Joey Padgett, who's running for him in the number 66. Right in the middle, came right down into the 01. We'll take another look at it, and you'll see here that is Reed Wilson's car technically, but it's Joey Padgett behind the wheel, right in the middle. Not much space between Jordan Black and Joshua Slate, rather, there, and goes right up into the wall, hard into the 46, who just absolutely could not do anything to get away from it. And that Hannah Montana car probably saying nobody's perfect. That was a little bit of a mistake there by Padgett.
I can't believe you.
That
was an incredible reference, by the way. Yeah,
I mean,
but that's
you live and you learn it.
Oh my God, that's you're 2 for 2 now. I mean, that's a pretty good reference. But yeah, that Hannah Montana car's seen better days. But you know, he could be the one that wins this race if he gets that all fixed up.
And unfortunately for Stephen Ellis, got the worst end of that, and with the lack of fast repairs here in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series, he's going to have to spend all that time down pit road. The driver out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, taking his repairs. He's already fallen 2 laps down. 9 laps in, a lot of drivers coming in for pit road service. The leaders included. Matt Stallnick going to lead the group in. The only one to stay out is James Bigford. And Dylan, the story for James Bigford so far over the playoffs has been a lot of struggles. You know, Homestead Miami Speedway, only 1 race, so it doesn't really tell the full story, but he did not perform well in South Florida. Was not the race he definitely wanted to have, and when we were checking in on him over the course of the race, he looked frustrated. It appeared that he felt like there was nothing else he could do, but he was stuck in his own spot. Tonight, he wants to turn it around to get back in contention in Group B in his playoff standings, and try to at least make it a fighting chance to get to round 2. I guess this call here to stay out at lap 11 is the way to do it.
You know, you can stretch it now to about 52, you know, with this caution flag coming out, but he better hope he gets another caution. I would say optimally about lap 40 or so, because if he has to make a green flag pit stop, he's pretty much screwed because he's the only one that stayed out.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's the only one on his tank of fuel, but good news as well is that with this caution flag, he can save a little bit, so he can extend his run a little longer should it go a green flag run away. But so far, Bigford will take the track position over strategy for now. That's Charlotte Phoenix, number 29, out in front over Ryan Vargas and Blake McCandless, closing out the top 3. For Bigford, his season started off on fire. He got the win with the Pro 2 trucks at Watkins Glen on October 30th, just before Halloween. Then the next race went 2 in a row with the Gen 4s at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it looked like he was catching fire just like the Hunger Games, but unfortunately it started to simmer out over the rest of the regular season, and even pushing forward to the playoffs, didn't look like the rhythm was there, nor the consistency for the Charlotte Phoenix number 29, hoping he can provide a nice turnaround here and get right back into the mix for the playoffs this season. Now, of course, Dylan, early caution, not much to tell in terms of the story tonight from Dega, but is there anything you definitely noticed out of the first 11 laps that caught your eye?
Yeah, everyone's just being really passive. Everyone's just like, I think they're all kind of on the same page, except for a few instances of insanity that, hey, we want to get to the end of this race. There's no point in having the big one here on lap 9 or 10 or, you know, before even lap 70. You know, there's no point in doing that. Why wreck all of us when we could just sit in line and then race at the end and all have a chance at this? So I think it's a lot of cooperation involved so far, but I think it might be a little bit more of the same here after we go green, but it might pick up here about 15, 20 laps as the tires start to wear just a little bit.
You know, I was going to try and make a comparison to iRacing AI at super speedways, but they go 3 wide immediately and they just stay like that for the rest of the race. So I'm not probably going to compare that to these drivers tonight going all single file. Conservatism, though, is the higher approach here tonight for sure. We'll get them doubled up for the restart at lap 13 of 80 here in this Sunday Circle Farm 80. James Bigford, the race leader, staying out. Ryan Vargas on his outside, first to come out of pit road. Then Blake McCandless in third, Gary Sexton back and fourth. Monin Rahman to bring up the top 5 with Lane Sabile on his outside. Mario Miranda, despite the move to the rear of the field early, he is recovered to 7th. Mark Rubilis right on his inside to 8th place. Jordan Buster and Connor Berry bringing up the rest of the top 10. So we'll see what James Bigford can do here on this green flag restart from Talladega Super Speedway. And this is really the first time we see Blake McCandless be able to take the inside lane with the car in front. It appears he'll be able to get that. He started 18th in this race on the outside, being able to pioneer everybody down low, but we'll see if he ditches the 29 or sticks with him. There's a look with the Tulsa, Oklahoma native of Mario Miranda as the field rises out of turn 4. They'll wait anxiously for that green flag, and we'll take Tally's decon on whether they immediately go 3 wide or go back to single file action. So pace cars down to the left. All on the 29 of James Bigford to bring him back to green at the Geico restart zone. And just waiting at around 60 to 65 miles an hour. Ryan Vargas on the outside. Barney the flagman ready to send him back to turn 1. Green flag restart, lap number 13. Turn 1, Vargas has the high ground, and he's going to have James Bigford beat. McCandless is trying to get to the 29's inside. He'll turn him around in front of the field and get multiple others involved. 29 is really the only car spinning. Everybody else will avoid. And I guess I was proven right there, Decon, on the 71, trying to make moves immediately after the restart, but the 29 had none of it. Unfortunately, he goes around as a result.
So I just happened to watch it right here when it happened. You know, it looked like Blake was there and just came through a late block and got hooked. But that's almost exactly what it looks like happened. And, you know, James was involved in it. Matt Stallneck was involved. I'm amazed that that was only a 3 or 4 car accident, but we're back under the yellow here at Talladega.
And if you look at it again on the inside, look at the space between McCandless' 71 Chevrolet Camaro and the 29 of Bickford. And McCandless fakes the move up high. Bickford falls for it. The 71 crosses him over. But unfortunately, Bickford is saying, hey, this is my spot. I'm not going to throw it away. He tries to block. They make the contact, and around the 29 goes in front of Monin Rahman. And Dylan, that's not going to be good news for driver number 44. And we talked about it at the top of the show, one of those trying to rebound in the playoffs after Homestead in Miami. There's a look from McCandless.
You know, Monin, I think he's going to be able to get all that damage fixed, but the one that took the worst of this was Connor Berry. He's got a toe leg issue. He had the front end ripped off, so looks like the night for Connor Berry. I think his chances of winning are very slim now, unless he gets a lot of lucky dogs in a row. But yeah, Connor Berry, he's in not good shape after that one.
And for Berry, who disconnected prior to the start of the race last week at Homestead in Miami, did get the points for finishing 32nd out of the 32 cars that registered for the event. But for Berry, he got a hard hit to the outside wall, and that is not going to be good for his chances at advancing into round number 2. He came into tonight with the least amount of points scored out of any of the playoff drivers with 12. And now the Menifee, California native will have to dig deep to get out of the trenches. And we'll see what he can do as he spends that time awaiting down pit road. Here are some of the drivers coming in for service. A lot of them Hog Tamers cars, including Lane Sabile. There's Monin Rahman right behind him in the 44. Got a bit of that front end damage. Looks like Mario Miranda does the same. A couple of others too. Matt Stonick and Jordan Buster getting service at lap 15.
Yeah, well, everyone's pitted now at least once, but that was just a weird instance on that restart. But you know, everyone's kind of going to be on the same amount here. You know, those that just pitted, they might be able to stretch another lap out of this down the road. But you know, I can't imagine it's going to go green that long. But you know, I would say once you get past lap 40 or so, you'll be good to go on gas the rest of the way.
So 2 early cautions here at Talladega Super Speedway. There are the drivers coming out of pit road. One of them, Brandon Houff in the number 9 machine, and bringing in a couple of others with him. That is Christopher Tate in the number 30 coming out. There's Brandon Houff with that beautiful Casey Kane inspired Richard Petty Motorsports number 9. Beautiful colors that we always get from Brandon Houff, no matter what car it is. And I have to give him credit to Decon, because I know it was a defeat at Indianapolis with the IR1s to start the season, but Houff did have a paint scheme, did have somewhat of a design. A lot of drivers did not. And Brandon Houff always provides the beautiful colors, and I mean, it's sort of a what-if to see what Houff could have done in these playoffs had he not forfeited his spot, but made the decision nonetheless. But it's nice to see Brandon Houff make these appearances, and especially with the beautiful colors on track.
It's great to have Brandon Houff. He's a good dude. I would say his cars always look the best every week, because he's one of the few that actually makes a scheme every week. Colin Fern does. Ryan Vargas does. I mean, Gary Sexton, I believe, has a new scheme every week. And, yeah, he has some of the better-looking cars on the grid.
Certainly does. And for Houff as well, so cool to have him. When we started last season with the FrontStretch.com post-race show, one of the hosts for that was Michael Massey, provided a lot of post-race content, a lot of laughs, a lot of great interviews with the drivers. Past our block, when we were done broadcasting on Podium Esports, we'd send it right to them. Houff was so instrumental in just enhancing the coverage at the back end of the races, and so good to see him on track doing what he does, and hasn't been able to grab his first career win yet, but he's been knocking on the door many times, and countless opportunities he's been awarded with Gen 4 cars. Of course, the IRL1 race at Indianapolis to kick off Season 7. Lots can be said about the skill of Brandon Houff on the sim, just awaiting that first win before Monday Night Racing comes to a close. We'll get the 1 to green signal here from the iRacing official pace car. It'll be Ryan Vargas and Gary Sexton at the front. I can imagine, Dylan, that after what Ryan Vargas saw with James Bickford getting turned by Blake McCandless, certainly thanking his lucky stars that he was not even close to that incident remotely. Now he can hold on to the lead.
That Cool Cat, I think, used up one of his 9 lives in that one. But, I mean, thankfully, that was only a 3 or 4 car accident. I mean, anytime someone gets turned in front of the entire field, that can smell disaster there. And thankfully, he had some good security around him, probably from the folks at Critical Path. Gave a little security on that one, but it was that could have been a whole lot worse than what it was.
And for Ryan Vargas, with the Critical Path security on his Chevrolet and basically on all of his cars over the season, actually launched some new merch on Sunday, yesterday, yeah, with the Ryan the Rhino Vargas, and it's the Toyota Tundra TRD with monster truck wheels, monster truck chassis. I love the promo video. Showed it to me before he unveiled it on Twitter. It was so cool to see. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. And the monster truck just flipping all over with the TRD on the chassis. Was pretty interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen it before, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, real good looking car. Another one is Gary Sexton right there next to him. He's got a good looking scheme as well. That was a big bowl game today. The famous Toastery, if you know that name, that was a bowl game between Western Kentucky and Old Dominion today. Old Dominion had a big lead, then they blew it in overtime. But yeah, that's had Gary Sexton on the sideline for that one. So he rushed home from wherever Charlotte's football stadium is to his computer, and he's here now.
And the text that would say Mustang at the front end of his car, instead of saying that, it says Toast. So a nice addition there.
Oh,
on
I
the
didn't
paint
notice
scheme.
that.
So the 3-car will man the outside lane, helped by Mark Rabilla. Sexton, one of those playoff drivers in Group B, third, and so far 9 points out of the second-place car to advance Bailey Turner. So this is good news for Sexton, able to lead a couple of laps here. They try and stay up front for the moment. Green flag back in the air in the Sunday Circle Farm 80 from Talladega. Beautiful jump by Ryan Vargas, getting tallied by Blake McCandless behind him. Gonna get the big run going into the first corner. Gary Sexton slots into third. Then Steve Alfont climbing up to fourth. Chase Cabry now up to fifth. Big movers here after the first couple of cautions tonight.
So really the first time the bottom line has actually got a good launch so far. Blake McCandless was hauling the mail behind Vargas, but now look at this top line. Gary Sexton getting shoved by Chase Cabry down the backstretch. It looks like our buddy Gary Sexton's going to go with the lead there.
And Chase Cabry, how about the 39 car pushing the 3 to the front? He started tonight in 20th place, already up to the top 3 before we even get to the conclusion of lap number 20. And when talking to Chase Cabry last week at Homestead, Miami on his second place endeavor, he talked about sort of skipping Talladega, going right to the late model stock at Richmond race because that was the combo he was looking forward to most. It looks like he's just having a boatload of fun already at the jump of this race. Got comfortable over the first 17 laps and the cautions, now pushing Gary Sexton up front back into turn 1. And caution out again. Looks like Brandon Brown in trouble.
I believe it was Brandon Brown. Let's see if we can get a check of the replay here, see what happened. I was paying attention to everybody back there, but I didn't really see anything kick off. As I look at the replay as, oh yeah, we had one car turned into the wall. And the big thing to note, the cautions are controlled by iRacing, and I know race control director this evening, so they saw that Podium Esports machine, excuse me, that race EPI machine of Corey Heim got spun out. He was fully perpendicular to the field, and the iRacing race control determined that was enough to throw a caution.
Here's a look on board with the number 11 for Hog Tamers, Corey Heim. Yeah, just gets sideswiped there by the 00 this week of Jordan Black. Usually runs the 14, but with the 00 for Talladega, just gets into the side of the 11. And while he was able to save it, nobody else directly got involved. Looks like that was more than enough to cause a caution. And a big point you make there, Dylan, the fact that we don't have manual race control, so any car that goes remotely sideways like that, even if they save it, even if nobody else gets involved and picks up damage, it's a yellow. It slows the field down, and that is going to be good news, though, for Corey Heim. Won't lose that much time as he currently sits 22nd.
The other thing that helped with that wreck was I don't think anyone got any damage. I think Corey just, skidded the tires. He might change a set of tires here. You get 5 sets, so if he hasn't used one yet, it might be a good time to use one. But Corey Heim, he's poised for another big run this year in the NASCAR ranks. As he had a really good finish to the end of the year last year, and he's going to stay out. The pits are still closed, but yeah, can't wait to see what Corey Heim comes up with this year in NASCAR. But I think everyone made it out pretty unscathed in that last one.
Result, though, from race control, they are going to give Jordan Black an end-of-line penalty, though, for causing the incident. Looks like they've had one person to step up in race control and make those executive decisions and not throwing the yellows, but, of course, handing out the penalties for cause of precautions and such. So car number 00 will head to the end of the longest line, and he'll set up shop at the back of the field, although he's going to hit pit road just for a bit of assurance sake, and so will everybody else. Here at Talladega Superspeedway, reminder that coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series is brought to you by Highland Homes Roofing. Since 1986, Highland Homes Roofing has been the #1 company you can trust for all your roofing needs. Locally owned and operated in Sebastian, Florida, they don't use subcontractors, guaranteeing the sub-quality and craftsmanship their clients have come to expect. Highland Homes Roofing is deeply involved in the community and have brought together the best local talent to create their roofing dream team. They take pride in all aspects of roofing and look forward to serving their area's roofing needs for many years to come. Financing is available, and for more information and to get a free quote, you can visit their website, www.highlandhomesroofing.com, or find them on Facebook. Highland Homes Roofing. Trust them with all your roofing needs.
Kathy tried to sneak another one by me there. Just said that the race EPI car was trying to set up shop at the back of the field. Yeah, that was. I don't know if you did that on purpose, but that's number 2 now. So I'm.
Oh no,
impressed.
that wasn't on purpose. The Hannah Montana one, I will say that was all purposeful, but that last one, I just said that.
By the way, Race Control has changed this to 1 degree, so Joey Padgett stepping in now, which it's not Joey Padgett. It is. We had some changes here. Joey Padgett is actually Reed Wilson tonight, and Reed Wilson is actually, I believe, Joey Padgett. So I think they just switched basically.
It feels like an episode. It feels like Freaky Friday all over again. Just both of them switching bodies and just taking each other's places. But Padgett, as a playoff driver, I mean, he's going to do anything that he can to get in a race and to try and build up some points. He was DQ'd during the qualifying session in Sim by iRacing. Could not get back in, so hence the switch over between the two. We're ready for the green flag restart now, a quarter of the way through tonight's Sunday Circle Farm 80. There's another look at the number 66 machine piloted tonight by Joey Padgett, the playoff driver, as Gary Sexton and Chase Cabry will bring them up to the front. Was going to call them both Ford Mustangs, but the Toast machine will bring them to the green first with the Prancing Horse on his outside in row 1. Green flag in the air. 3 car gets the run on the inside, helped by Presley Sora in the chase to turn 1. Car had the momentum for the first corner. Looks like positivity to the top. Chase Cabry, new race leader from Talladega. Gary Sexton gets forced in the sucker hole. Michael Fisher will take control on the inside lane, but a 3-car breakaway to turn 3. Car number 39 in front.
Well, Super Mario up there in second place. He was wrecked earlier. Now he's back up here in second place. He's pushing Chase Cabry to the front. But his bottom line's starting to get their stuff together. That is the 32 machine of Michael Fisher. Getting a big push behind Joey Slate. Joey Slate in the Me versus Everyone Chevrolet with a big old Chevy logo on the back. And we have a wreck in the back.
And Gary Sexton's involved. Monin Ramen is the other car in it. The 3-car goes sideways at the tri-oval. And it looks like it was contact with the 41 of Matt Stallnick to kick this all off. And that was around the middle of about 4 wide action for a split second. We'll take a look at the replay. This was around the tri-oval. They got in, and mind you, the 3-car was at the head of the field, then got dropped back to the sucker hole, found the space up top behind Raja Cruz. But Decon, what happened here?
Well, we'll take a look right here on the replay. Gary Sexton, he's just hanging out in line, and everyone's trying to figure out where to go, and it's just too many cars trying to fight for the same real estate. Doesn't look like there was a whole lot of damage. Holy cow, who was that flew through there? I think that was that James Bickford? That he barely found a space to fit through and didn't hit anyone? That was, we got to see that on board. I didn't see that the first time it happened live. I saw Gary Sexton spinning, but I didn't see that as you're on board with James Bickford. Big Days of Thunder moment here is, I'm not even sure that he lifted through this. So wreck's happening in front of him, sees the smoke, and that little gap, he ended up getting the wall a little bit, but that could have been a whole lot worse.
And for Bickford there, tried to squeeze through the hole. Unfortunately, it looks like he has hit pit road, and on timing and scoring, he's considered out of the race. Yeah, he dropped it to a complete stop and decided to tow it. He is out of tonight's race from Talladega, so the struggles continue for James Bickford in the 29. And it looks like out of this one, Dylan, he's going to need a miracle at Richmond in a couple of weeks to even have a chance of getting out of Group B.
Yeah, I hate that for James. James was having a good race so far. He was just kind of staying out of trouble. And, I don't think there was really anything else he could have done other than probably lift. But who knows how that turns out with people behind you, as we might go 1 to green here under this caution. They're trying to shorten the cautions, but we had a few guys drop out of the server. James Bickford has fallen out of the server, it looks like. Yeah, James Bickford He has left the server, but I think that was internet issues. His car might not be too bad, but looks like everyone associated with him has also left the server. But there, a lot of stuff going on here early on, Kenneth.
Lots of drama and many cautions to start the first 23 laps of the race. Chase Cabry, the leader so far. Now, we talked about point standings and, of course, James Bickford's status in all of this, only accumulating 24 points at Homestead, Miami. Not the race he was looking forward to having, and after finishing in 20th out of the 32 cars in that race, he's at the bottom of the barrel in Group B. And then, of course, with this DNF, not going to help his case heading over to Richmond. And you look at all the others, and look at the really close battles, Dylan, after one race. 3 points separating Michael Fisher and Alex Monteferrate in Group D, although Alex isn't racing tonight at Talladega. Then Group B, Joey Padgett, Ryan Vargas, they're both in contention, surely 3 points out of each other. And when top two advance, you're looking at minuscule margins between each of the drivers, especially when you look at who's in each group, some of the heavy hitters in the series.
I mean, you look at the entire top four. I mean, Chase, or the top four of each, or the top one of each group, excuse me, I can't talk. Chase Cabry, you know, he's leading his group right now, so he's in a good spot. Presley Sora's up there in 4th position, but you know, Colin Fern and Cole Cabry, they got some work to do. Adam Cabot's having a decent night so far, and I mean, the points could be flipped upside down an hour and a half from now than what they are now.
Oh yeah, 100%. And for Cole and Colin, you really wouldn't expect them to be in the positions they are now, 23rd and 24th on the racetrack. Super Speedways seem to be their kind of races, especially when you factor Colin's aggression in these races, when you can use the draft to your advantage, and Cole Cabry with his trend of being able to win last time we raced here at Talladega Super Speedway with the NextGens in the Summer Series a couple of months ago. Certainly rare to see those two drivers not near the front and sort of hanging in the back, but probably just that conservative approach and being able to stay out of trouble, just hopping on the brakes. But so far for Cole, he's leading handily over Adam Cabot by 8 points. And then for the likes of the others, Colin Fern leading his group by 4. He's going to have to beat Bailey Turner, though, if he wants to continue with that lead in their respective group once we head over to Richmond. Just a lot of drama when you put in a brand new playoff system. It's definitely taken a lot to get used to by us at Podium Esports. I'm sure it's taken a lot for the drivers too, and I can imagine team conversations are thinking about where you are in the playoffs, how you fare, whether you're in top 2 or not, what can you do to get there too.
I mean, there's a whole lot of different ways to approach this. I think, you know, if you could go out and try to win each race, but, you know, you could accept yourself to being wrecked every time. But, I mean, you see all kinds of different strategies going on. I mean, you see people playing it safe, you see guys being aggressive, and pretty much everything in between so far.
Talk about strategy and alternate ones. Chase Cabry and company around him, a lot of them pitted 14 laps ago. Then you look at everybody 9th on back, they pitted 5 or less laps ago, and that certainly has changed up a lot. When you look at Raja Caruth getting into the top 10 after starting in 21st. 28th was the starting position for Reed Wilson, but that's Joey Padgett. Now he's moved up to 11th on the racetrack. Things have certainly shifted here in Talladega already, a bit over a quarter into this race, but still a lot left to decide. So pace car will make that left back to pit road after yet again another caution here in this Sunday Circle Farm 80 from Alabama. Chase Cabry will hold on to the lead. Mario Miranda back out front with a chance to take control into turn 1. And they'll wait patiently for the Geico restart zone and Barney the flagman. As Cabry will bring his speed factor Ford Fusion to the front with help from Ryan Vargas in the 26. Into the restart zone and out. Green flag in the air from Talladega. Even jump between the two leaders, inside and outside. Miranda taking control for now with a bit of help from the 98. Look at the run they're building on the tail end of the top side. That was Raja Caruth giving a block back there. And Jordan Buster on the inside trying to help facilitate things on the inside lane. Look at Miranda getting fanned out to the top, and Presley Sora charging through the middle to the lead.
Oh, and somebody slam on the brakes in the back there, bottled up the whole back third of the field, but they haven't sorted out. I mean, remember when I said that they might take it easy? Yeah, this doesn't look easy.
This looks like the aggression turning up, and there are cars flirting with that very top groove. The 39 of Cabri takes notice of it. Vargas takes advantage through the middle. Sora will fall back in the draft for a bit, and Cabri will hold on to the spot. Back to turn 1. And look at the run by Raja Karuth from 21st to 2nd here at lap 26.
What do I think the smartest guy in the field is right now?
Who?
I think Colin Fern. Colin Fern's got a good look at this thing. He's sitting last place on the racetrack, still has the draft, but he sees them going 3 wide up here, and I know exactly what Colin's thinking. I can't really say it, but I'll paraphrase. These blank idiots are going to wreck again, and I'm going to make up spots without actually having to pass someone. That's exactly what Colin Fern's thinking. Like, even if he loses the draft, you know, he thinks that they're going to do something stupid here in the next 15, 20 laps, and he's going to make up more and more spots, and then there's less cars to pass at the end of the race because they're wrecked.
You know, it's usually an inner voice for mostly everybody, but for Colin Fern, he's thinking out loud at all times.
Oh,
and
yes.
what his thought is I don't want any part of this action right now. I could go with single file racing at the start of this race, but if we're 3x3 for multiple rows in the main pack, I want nothing to do with it. Yes, there's trouble. Monin Raman among those involved. Gary Sexton, second time we see him involved in a caution, lap 27. Looks like it was hit by Corey Deucer to the entrance of turn 1. We'll take another look at it. There's the 3 car up top. Looks like luck not going the way, decon of car number 3. Here's a look from Deucer, who we haven't spoken of much of tonight. The 3 car comes down. The 04 is there. That's a typical moment of not clear. They make contact, and the 3 goes for a slide.
Poor Gary's been sliding all night, it seems like. Again, there's not a whole lot of damage there. That was another one of those that wrecks that iRacing thought should deserve a caution, but you know, it was Gary just, you know, he spun out kind of harmlessly. And, yeah, I think it was just that single car accident, but it could have been a lot worse, like a lot of them have been tonight. So I think we're just going to keep saying that until it actually is a 15, 20 car pileup. So
3 car getting around again. He falls back to P26 as there's the 39 of Chase K. We're going to pick up the iRacing official pace car with Raja Karuth and Mario Miranda in tow to close out the top 3. We've been flirting with disaster, minuscule contact, a lot of cautions, but not a lot of cars involved. Will that change, and what will we see over the rest of this race? We'll have to find out in the Sunday Circle Farm 80 on Podium Esports. We'll take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Mach 10. Let's give Mach 10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway. Coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series is brought to you by Highland Homes Roofing. Since 1986, Highland Homes Roofing has been the #1 company you can trust for all your roofing needs. To learn more about their services, go to highlandhomesroofing.com. And by Mach 10 Digital, your partner for stunning video production and digital marketing solutions, and where innovation meets creativity. Many cautions over the 29 laps concluded here from Talladega Superspeedway. Welcome back to our coverage on Podium Esports of the MNR playoffs, where alongside Dylan Connolly in the booth, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Eddie Smith, our producer this evening, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Chase Cabre, who spent a bulk of this race near the back of the field, has decided to make the charge to the front. He's held on to it, but he's got Raja Caruth, NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series driver, right to his outside. Mario Miranda and Leighton Sabile have been flirting with many positions over the course of this race. They're going to settle in nicely row number 2 to give support to the leaders back to turn 1. Here for lap number 30 and for 50 laps to go here in the Sunday Circle Farm 80. Chase Cabre goes right up ahead of that 24 into the restart zone. Will go back to the green flag. Start by Cabre, and here comes the 24. Raja Caruth, the big run with help from Sabile. He flirts up top, 39 will block, and there goes the 25. Sabile charging through the middle, gonna make it 3 wide for the lead out of turn 2.
So that was a really interesting restart right there. Raja Caruth basically started in 4th position, even though he was 2nd on the track, but as soon as they launched, Chase Cabre was clear of both cars in essentially the 2nd row on that restart, so I think it was to let his buddy up there, but I guess they're working well together.
And we've been noticing too, Dylan, the amount of drivers lagging back on the restarts just to get a huge run once you get out of the 2nd corner into that long back straightaway to turn 3. And the 71 took advantage of that, went to that 3rd line. He stepped into 3rd place with the 25 of Sabile. He goes down low. The 11 of Corey Heim, his teammate, will give support. And that inside lane has all basically divided at this point. Outside lane has control back to turn 2.
Running high, wide, and handsome on the exit of turn 2 here. That bottom line's starting to get these together. Once you see that bottom line, the numbers kind of even out, you'll see that bottom line start to work really good. But really the lines are dependent on, not the first car or the 2nd car, but how that 3rd car in line is doing. Because the 1st and 2nd car pretty much gets to go to fail. But the 3rd car, depending on how much of a gap they're leaving, will determine how good that line is. You see the bottom line moving now. Presley Sora getting a big shove from Michael Fisher as they head down to the trial.
Only 5 cars on that inside lane, but despite that, they're going to be able to keep pace with the leaders up top. And when you're thinking of next-gen races, Dylan, at these super speedways, you're constantly thinking of an uphill battle. If you're those guys at the bottom, you constantly think to yourself, what do you have to do if you're those leaders on the inside lane to take control of the lead? It looks like the answer so far is organization, but Fisher will ditch the 98 of Sora. He goes up top with his speed factor teammate in Cabre. He holds on to the lead. New race leader from Dega.
Michael Fisher goes so inspirational. He was fishing for position earlier. Now he's up here in the lead, running high, wide, and handsome. High, wide, handsome. Those speed factor cars, speed factory cars, excuse me. Running nose and tail up there. Raja Caruth behind again. Good looking field out here. Good paint schemes off topic. As Presley Sora is moving the bottom line. And again, I mentioned at the top of the race, I thought that they would just kind of run around and just, bite time and just get through the race, but it hasn't been that case so far, and it's still not the case.
And now 3 wide, Nick Olsen manning the charge in the middle. He's got help from both the 41 of Matt Stolnick and bring in that black and orange number 89 of Mario Miranda. Bit of a wiggle there. And speak of paint schemes too, that 24 bearing that Jeff Gordon paint scheme that's famously known for being involved in the big one back in 2009 here at this very speedway. Now the 24 hoping that isn't the case tonight here in the Monday Night Racing playoffs, but for the 24 of Olsen looking for his 2nd career M&R victory after getting his first to start season 7 at Indianapolis. Got to give him credit for trying to get this middle lane working, but so far looks like the 89 going to back out. Only 2 in that group and not really fruitful for those guys at the moment.
Yeah, I believe that car had a fantastic 2 or 3 laps that it saw on the racetrack, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that was what it was most famous for. I remember seeing that scheme like, man, that's a cool looking scheme, but it was only out there for about 2.5 minutes. But that's another thing. All the great esports cars, fantastic. That's a big paint scheme. Look at Mark Rabillas, my pick to win the race tonight. I know probably an upset pick, but that's another good scheme. He's pushing Presley Sora to the front as you're on board with Mark Rabillas. Started 16. He's been kind of close to the top 5, top 10 all night long. As we got a car on the wall, as the top bunches up. As let's see who that was, big purple car. I believe that was Chase Cabre that was in the wall.
Yeah, it was, and he was following in the tracks of the 32, his teammate, Michael Fisher, but unfortunately got the wall, checked up Raja Caruth, the 71.
Trouble
Okay,
car
let's
spinning.
go around, hard into the wall, and it looks like Caruth is in it. And so is Monin Ramen. Both of them got involved.
Well, yeah, that was an interesting one. I have to see the replay on this one. Monin Ramen, I think he got spun out as we're going to follow him right here. He was up to fifth, or he started fifth. He's moving through the field. And Raja Caruth, and he just moves up. I don't know if he thought the momentum was going to make him clear or not, or if Raja was a little higher, but Monin came down and there's nowhere to go, and Raja was sitting there, just innocent bystander, and running the caution once again.
And it appeared that the checkup there with Cabri getting into the outside wall typically snowballed into this incident where Monin Ramen just slides up the track following in the footsteps of the driver in front. That was the 11 of Corey Heim, so he goes up just a little bit. As Heim was floating up the racetrack and right into the 24 he went. Just another case, Dylan, of not clear. 44 thought he had enough space. He did not, so you see him right about there into the frame, and the 24 had nowhere to go.
Yeah, I think Raja was just as a bystander there. He was just sitting there, and I think Monin really thought that he was running higher because he saw when he was starting to pass him that Raja was running up against the wall, so I think he imagined he still was, but yeah, that's all I can think about what happened. Monin's usually a pretty sound race car driver around here, but that's my guess.
This looked like the 44 with a little mistake there, floating a little too high, and that got him too close to the sun. He got burned getting into the 24 of Caruth. Luckily for both of them, they will escape with minimal damage on either of their cars, so it won't necessarily be game over for these drivers, but certainly is a case where you're looking at, actually it looks like Caruth, I think he has suspension damage.
Yeah, he asked for a black flag clear, and I think he's got maybe a toe link issue. He doesn't have one broken. He might have one bent, but yeah, he hit that wall pretty hard when he got sandwiched in between it, so he's going to come down pit road here and see what the problem is.
So big hit there for Caruth. Actually does give him suspension damage, and it might take him out of this race. For Ramen, looks like he'll be fine. Caruth will come in, and that right front, even the left front, not happy with the 24. He'll bring in Blake McCandless. There's Corey Deucer, Gary Sexton, Brandon Half among those that are entering pit road. Now think about fuel strategy. A lot of these guys have not gone long in their stints. Only the top two have gone the furthest at around 27 laps on their stint. You can also factor in Adam Cabot at 26, but for the most part, everybody is pitting with all of these cautions coming out. You figure, Dylan, that strategy really hasn't taken a hold of this race quite yet, as we're moving halfway, and certainly not what we expected, especially after Daytona earlier this year.
Yeah, this race has gone a whole lot different than our race at Daytona did. I think nobody's really wanting to wait. I don't, depending on how the math checks out and if we have another caution, you can make it from here. So I think we're done with pit road if everyone's pitted this time. But there's a few that last pitted lap 10, like Presley Sora, Mark Rabillas, Brandon Brown, Steve Offont. All those guys are like, yeah, they're going to wreck again. We'll be fine out here. So I think they're just cashing in on the track position, helping catch everyone where everyone will pit. But, it's been a real back and forth, topsy-turvy race that's had 4 or 5 different wrecks that have just been 2 or 3 car wrecks. So we haven't had the big one just yet, but it's brewing.
So over this race, Dylan, if you're one of those guys on the racetrack, most notably a guy in the playoffs, think about it in either of your groups, just trying to eye in on exactly what the other drivers around you are doing. If you're seeing a lot of these cautions come out frequently, are you one of those guys to come down pit road as often as you can just to flush up on strategy, or are you staying out for the track position?
I think if it were me, I would have pitted about lap 20. Just that way I could just go a lot longer, and then as soon as I knew I was going to be able to make it, I think I would pit just so I didn't have to deal with pit road anymore, because if you pit earlier than a lot of folks, then they'll have to deal with pit road, and then you'll get by them at a track like this. You'll just be ahead of them. Now, of course, anyone can go from the back to the front anytime, but in regards to looking at points, I don't think anyone's looking at points right now. I think they might be more, They might be more aware of the points next week, or not next week, the next race. Yeah, I think everyone's just trying to get through this race, and there's a lot going on, and I think the points are not on, or in relation to the points, are not on the top of a lot of people's minds.
But speak of points, Monin Ramen, who we're talking about as the guy trying to get back on the right track, he's got the end-of-line penalty by race control as for causing that incident with the number 24 of Raja Karut. So there's the non-stop shop Toyota Camry, going to be at the tail end of the longest line as we've got the 1 to green signal, going to get everybody back again. Double filed for green here at lap number 39, just approaching halfway from Talladega. Now, if you look further through the order, you'll see 7th place Adam Cabot and 9th place Bailey Turner. Now, these two started pretty high up in running order. Cabot started 7th and Turner started 9th, so at the same place they were at the drop of the green flag. But what we haven't seen them, Dylan, is up front. And last week when we talked to Adam, he said, quote, these guys maybe are going to try to do their homework on exactly how to tandem and what the OP line and move is. He said that Bailey and him were going to lead the most laps. It has not been the case tonight at Dega. Is there anything that catches your eye on why that might be the case, or if there's a different strategy for these two tonight?
I mean, you know, it's easy to plan out things beforehand in a race like this. You know, the biggest planner before a race, I think, might have been Dale Earnhardt all time. But, you know, all good plans, you know, there's always a hitch in it. There's something that you have to change there. But, you know, you can say, oh, yeah, we'll just do this and we'll be smooth sailing. But rarely does that happen. You know, you can get separated from them. You might have 6 or 7 cars working together with each other instead of just 2. But remember, if let's say you do team up together, that's just 2 cars. It's 2 versus 31, actually 2 versus 29 in this race. So, you know, it's a sound plan, but who knows if it comes to fruition. We got half the race to figure that out, though.
And Cabot last week at Homestead, Miami, expressed that if this race went into green flag strategy territory, him and Turner would be the front runners, just like they were at Daytona when they were just a whopping 5 cars in contention for the win as we were approaching the checkered flag. Tonight, it's been blown wide open. We've got the 98 of Presley Sora at the front, Mark Rebillis running phenomenally here on the outside of the front row. Green flag in the air. Restart at lap number 39 of 80 here from Talladega. Mark Rebillis immediately slots to the inside. He'll take hold of 2nd place. Steve Alfont in that Mario machine will hold control of the outside lane, pushed by the 25 of Leighton Sabile, but so far so good for the Cambridge City, Indiana native of Presley Sora, holding on to the lead to the back straightaway.
Yeah, Presley's rolling right now. Again, there's Mark Rebillis, that 98-99 connection right there. It seems like they've been, you know, pretty good buddies throughout this entire race. They're not teammates, but Mark and Presley have been really working well together over the course of this race. Mark's been doing a majority of the pushing, so I'd imagine that, you know, he's been dancing with him the whole time. He's been going to stay with him.
And your top 4 started 10th or worst in this race. 2 of them starting outside the top, or 3 of them rather, outside the top 15. Brandon Brown had the worst start at 26, but so far he's been able to get his footing down, and he's been able to hit the ground running in this sense. Miranda slides up top. Looks like he will bring Alfont with him, trying to organize the outside line. And for the first time, Dylan, it appears all night long, it's the outside lane that has to play catch up here.
Yeah, now, like I said earlier, the bottom line's got more cars to it. That's strength in numbers, if you will. On the bottom line, there's about double as many cars as they're on the top now currently, and they got their act together. And a lot of the guys that have been in charge of this race for most of the race are leading that bottom line as Matt Stalnick goes to the top there. But again, you're going to see the top line be the best line at the point, bottom line, even the middle points as well. But again, we're reaching halfway this time. There's still a lot to figure out.
Looking at the 41, he's been trying to figure things out all race long, but he'll take up to the 3rd lane of the trial where he's getting help from the Tulsa, Oklahoma native of Miranda, who's riding on board with right now. Look at those 2 cars taking charge in the middle. Hog Tamers in control at this moment. Lane Sabile pushed by the defending champ Corey Heim. Ryan Vargas, Gary Sexton, Nick Olson, the 5 cars running that lane and trying to break up everyone who's been taking control at the front. Sora still has it for now. Rebillis not too far behind. Look at the run by the 41 in turn 3.
Stalnick's moving on that top line with Super Mario behind him, but again, there's only 3 cars on that top line, but they're still making it work because they're getting draft from 2 different sources. As Nick Olson's going to file in, that top line is now doubled, and now the middle line's kind of the sucker hole now, as there's only 3 cars there, and if you have the least amount of numbers in that line, you're just kind of screwed. But bottom line's kind of king right now, as everyone's trying to save gas and trying to run the bottom. You're going to save more fuel that way, but that's That's pretty much what I see going on right now.
It's unique to see, Dylan, the fluctuation from the top to the bottom, but it appears the outside line is going to get back in business soon. The 41 has gathered all of his friends with him at the top end of the racetrack. They've got a single file line to take note of. Sora still not worried about anything in his rearview mirror other than the 99 of Mark Rebillis. But here comes the 41 charging into turn 3. They get to 4th, now to 3rd on the outside of Brandon Brown and Adam Cabot out of the final corners.
There's a whole lot of separation between this top and bottom line. This is really the first time that we've gone more than single file where it hasn't been 3 wide. So I think if this top line were to start side drafting a little bit more, I think you would see this top line start to move, and then you'll see them kind of fishtail back to the wall and maintain their position. But right now, I think there's way too much of a gap between these cars if they're trying to get to the lead. But otherwise, I think if they're just riding around, you know, it at least looks better than single file, I guess.
And that's part of the ploy too, Dylan. When you're racing with these next gens and super speedways, you'll see a lot of the space built up between the very bottom and the very top, and that's because of that side draft model, where if you stay so closely connected to those drivers on your inside, you're only going to get pulled back with the side draft and the aero just adding some more drag on the rear spoiler of the race car. So you're seeing this amount of distance just because each lane doesn't want to pull each other back and just have that phenomenon of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and no real momentum gain on either side of the racetrack. Sora takes notice of the run up top on the 41, goes right up in front of Stallneck's machine, being able to take the race lead still. Stallneck might look for the inside. He stays down, and Rebillis now has to be the man in charge on the very inside, hugging the yellow line. Sora, nice job to block there, maintaining P1.
Impressive Sora moved from the bottom to the top and left his old buddy Rebillis down there on the bottom. And the top line's got stronger numbers now, so this bottom line's starting to fade back. But you know, more to Brandon Brown. He's got white knuckling that wheel right now. Is there? This is another thing. This is probably the longest green flag run that we've had, about 7 or 8 laps, and you know we're coming up on it. And you know you traditionally think tires don't mean anything, but this next gen, for whatever reason, the tires do start to wear after about 15, 20, 25 laps, somewhere in there. And you do notice changes in grip levels. So you'll start to see guys, start to get a little loose and everything, and they'll just move lanes like Mario Miranda does now, going to the bottom. But the grip level will start to go down as this green flag run goes longer.
You'll see these cars bobble just a bit. These cars are really sensitive to aero and, of course, to tire wear. When you're going upwards of 190 miles an hour here at Talladega Superspeedway, and even more so 195 in the middle of the draft, you make a wrong move quickly, this car is going to step out of shape. For Miranda, he swung way up to the top to block the run by the 98, gave him the race lead, but here comes Mark Rebillis back for the fight on the inside with Brandon Brown to help. And first time we see Mark Rebillis hold on a P1 here at Talladega. Great run for the Bitcoin machine.
Told you, that was my pick. I gave Mark Rebillis the good luck so far. Mark Rebillis will come around and lead this time by. I believe that's his first lap led this season, is it not? I don't remember him being up front. I mean, I remember him being up front, but I don't remember him leading a whole lot. But it's been an excellent run for Mark Rebillis tonight.
And for Rebillis, he's looking for his best run since the opening race of the season at Indianapolis, where he finished 9th. Every other race has been 11th or worse. His best finish since Indianapolis was at Wild West, where he did come home 11th. So looking for a big turnaround and possibly a win here at the Super Speedway. He'll fight back on the inside, but in this time chasing the 98. Sora back down to the bottom. He'll take the race lead out of turn 4. Miranda still trying to build patronage on the top side. Here comes Sora to block. Mark Rebillis chases the middle. Very lucky he didn't get the door shut there by Brandon Brown and got put in the sucker hole as Blake McCandless trying to make a run through the middle with Michael Fisher.
It was really funny. Mark Rebillis and his crew were talking about there's a lot of rain in the area. They better call this thing, but of course rain is not here in iRacing just yet. So Mark Rebillis having a good run tonight. Blake McCandless right now, you're on board with him. He finally gets to the bottom out of the sucker hole as they head down the Alabama Gang super stretch. He's going to go back to the middle. He's trying to get side draft from that left side. You'll see him when they go in 3 and 4. He's going to get really close to the cars on his inside to try to get kind of a pull from it, the way that the air is forming. He's going to get a pull from them, but also that outside line is going to pull him back. So in reality, it's kind of like, if you ever had a grandfather clock, how the weights in it, they pulled out on everything to make everything work. It's kind of working like that, where, you know, the top line is pulling the middle line back, which is pulling the bottom, but the bottom is also pulling the middle along with him. It's real confusing, but you know, once you get that figured out, then it's easy to remember and it's easy to maneuver.
It's a game of pendulum at around 195 miles an hour. Put it simply, as here come some drivers making moves on the inside. And how about Steve Lafont in the number 54 making moves? He'll bring the 24 of Nick Olsen with him. So Lafont, the driver out of Milton, West Virginia, trying to take the lead away into turn 3 as they bobble on the backstretch.
Yeah, it's been controlled chaos for the most part. It hasn't been 3 wide for a couple laps, except for a few stragglers like Blake McCandless. Nick Olsen looking at the top lap for the lead. And Blake McCandless going to make it 3 wide and try to go for the lead here. And if he's able to clear that bottom line, this will work. But he's just kind of just hung out there, and Blake's going to pull the lane back. So as we have another lead change up front, Presley Sora looks like he's going to go to the pole.
McCandless tried his best to make a middle charge work. He'll find some help in the form of Corey Deucer in the 04, but that's not going to be enough to bring him back to the front. Sora and Miranda first and second at the exit of turn 2. Stallneck trying to hold on to third. Look at this big breakaway and the run by Nick Olsen. He's got help from the 30 of Christopher Tate. They dart down low to turn 3.
Deal with a lap car here, and a little bit Monin Rahman, who lost the draft. Still has a little damage. They're going to catch him in a handful of laps, so they'll have to see how they want to address it. But this has been the longest green flag run of the race so far. As look who's up here, Gary Sexton moving up in 3rd place. He's spun out 3 different times tonight, and he's pushing Christopher Tate and Nick Olsen to the lead here.
This feels like the magic of super speedway racing, right, Dylan? Where you can wreck multiple times and still somehow be in this thing. Car number 3 has been all over the place tonight, whether it's been sideways, bringing out a plume of smoke for a yellow flag, and here with his Philadelphia Eagles hat, cheering them on in Monday Night Football tonight. Well, it looks like we're going to start cheering him on as being the relentless driver so far this evening, running inside the top 5 and being prepared to make this move at will. He's going to stay behind the 30 of Christopher Tate, giving push to the 24, and for the first time tonight, Dylan, we will see lap traffic, and it is not good news for car number 44, Monin Rahman, set to go a lap down here.
Yeah, Monin, I think he's fine. He just lost the draft. And I don't think he has any damage just affecting his car. Maybe a little right front damage, but he's going to be able to tuck in the back of his pack and ride around. He's going to be the only car a lap down right now, so he'll still get the lucky dog if there's another wreck. But the next closest, Roger Cruz, who's 14 laps down and out of the event. But so far, everyone else, except for Brandon Houth, who has also lost the draft, everyone else is still on the lead lap.
So there's the 44 letting the entire field by on the inside. Bit of shaking up there from the 12 of Brandon Brown, McCandless, and that was Bailey Turner behind. Ryan Vargas going to make the outside work as well to get around the 44, so no real problems there at the front of the field, but it did somewhat kill the inside lane, stalled them momentum, so the 54 of Lafont is going to have to work extra hard here to get right back up to the competition, with Sora continuing to man this charge as we get to 29 laps to go from Talladega Super Speedway. And one thing that, Dylan, I'm noticing as well here, there's a really healthy mix between non-playoff and playoff drivers in the front. You're looking at Sora, previous champion in this series. He's a playoff driver running for the championship in Group D. Then Mario Miranda, who's a rookie, who's already won a race, but he's not running for the championship this season. Nick Olsen, who backed out of a playoff spot despite winning the first race of the season. Christopher Tate, who's been just experimenting with things over the campaign. Then you've got Matt Stallneck, who's not running for a championship. Then the next playoff driver, 6th place, Michael Fisher, just stepped into the top 5, but Dylan, we're seeing a lot of mixing and matching between all of the playoff and non-playoff contenders, and it is getting confusing. Might be a little dangerous for those red bannered cars if they want to stick it up front.
You know, that's an excellent point that you bring up there. You may as well throw the points out the window. I think everyone's just concerned about just trying to get to the end, trying to get as good a finish as possible. I would be very shocked if any of the 16 playoff drivers are thinking, man, I need to get 6 points on this guy. I think if they have someone that's keeping track of it, they might just be keeping track of it to himself. But again, this isn't really the track to chase points if you're trying to catch up on someone, because you'll just end up wrecked. I just think if you just get a good enough finish, you know, get a solid top 5, top 10, that you don't have to worry about the next week. But again, if you're a guy like Joshua Slade and Connor Berry, who you're in a big hole after round number 1, I think you're trying to make a bunch of moves and get more points in the bank for yourself compared to who you're chasing.
you've got the other side of the spectrum there too, Dylan, because you've got guys who can turn their round around here with a big run from Talladega. One of those is Corey Deucer in the 04 car. Just got held up a bit by Nick Olson, who got sent through the middle in the sucker hole. But the 04 of Deucer, who started 23rd tonight, haven't seen much of him over this race. He can take large advantage over all of the drivers around him in his Group A. Adam Cabot, the driver who he's been fighting with, and Cole Cabry, a lot of them just sort of back and forth throughout this race. And while Cabot still is in contention back in 14th, Cole Cabry is trapped in this race, and he hasn't really found his ground over the course of the night. So this is big stuff for the 04 of Corey Deucer, who can build up a lot of points to Richmond, survive the chaos there, and be able to advance into the next round.
Got a lot darker out. I think the sun's starting to set, or there's been some cloud coverage. That's another thing that's going to throw a wrench into this. So again, this is the longest green flag run that we've had in about, I would say, 15 laps or so. A lot of guys that have stayed out since lap 10 or lap 19, they're going to need to pit. I think everyone, depending on how they are doing it. The draft isn't, oh my goodness, Michael Fisher about got turned by Presley Sora, but they save it. My goodness, Michael Fisher going over the rail say, hey, take a little easy right there, but that was almost big. But, you know, all these guys that have stayed out, it's going to catch up to them if they don't have a wreck in the next 10, 15 laps. But I think a lot of cars that they might have pitted lap 36, lap 39, somewhere in there, I think they're going to be good to go on fuel depending on how they've been doing in the draft.
That's a great point, and you're looking at some of the guys in the top 10 that might have to think about heading down pit road sooner than later if they don't get a yellow. Steve Alfont, the race leader, who's now wasting the most fuel, he is currently 37 laps in his stint. Mark Rebillis, the driver behind him, make that 46 laps in his stint, and 46 is the same number for the 98 of Presley Sora. So you're completely right, Dylan. They're going to have to think about pit road strategy, and at this juncture of the race, as it's staying as green as it could be, it's a really precarious spot, and the 99 is going to get forced through the middle with absolutely no help. That 98 of Presley Sora ditching him there. Rebillis will find chase on the inside lane as Corey Heim takes over the lead in turns 3 and 4.
So you're starting to see the line shift again. The bottom line's got the most cars in it, and the top line's kind of disorganized. There's only about 6 cars on the top line there. You're going to see, it's basically just a numbers game. So 2 cars on the top, or 3 now, then 3 in the middle, and then 20 on the bottom. The bottom line's going to be the best line. I really think, and you know, we had a close friend of the program, Kevin McAdams, in chat, and I was thinking the exact same thing. If anybody or any 3 or 4 cars can just figure out how to run the top properly, well, they'll be in good shape and they can win this race. But so far, nobody outside of Presley Sora and Mario Miranda have shown that they can run the top line and run it competently for a large chunk of this race.
You're also thinking about consistency too there as well. If there's not a proper leader at the front of that pack and nobody wants to get organized, you're not going to find any momentum. And most of the time in these super speedways, if you have that one guy who can gain the respect of everybody in the field and just run the top, pioneer it, let everybody follow in line and get them all sorted, then you're going to have a successful race at the top of the banking. And we've seen this race change hands multiple times between outside and inside. The beginning looked like if you were all the way up top, that was the way to go. It seems now it's the inside lane right up against that yellow line, and Steve Alfont currently holding serve at the front of this field, and nowhere to be seen is that outside. They continue to split each other up, and that's why you're seeing large distances between them and not a lot of cooperation and not giving them the boost up to P1.
It's actually saying they're all having a side draft competition there in the middle of the pack right now, but things getting pretty even here out front. Steve Alfont, Presley Sora just kind of chilling out now. There's a big gap now as Matt Stallneck going to the top lane now. There's more cars up at the top as it looks like they're making a charge to the front here.
Here's the 41. He's got help from the 32 of Michael Fisher. And a big distance there between Presley Sora and the 98 and the 99 of Rebillis. Remember, we talked about his stint on fuel. He can't really go all that much longer before he's got the threat of running out of fuel on his mind. And all these 3 cars who have gone the longest on their fuel tanks have been able to stay up front remarkably. The 41 of Stallneck not able to build the run. He's going to get the help this time from another speed factor Ford Mustang, this time Corey Deucer. We'll see what they can do still side by side for 5th with Blake McCandless.
So it's funny you mentioned that. Right here, the 98, 99 coming to pit road this time by. A lot of the front pack are coming in. those of them that have stayed out, as there's about 6-7 cars here, somewhat hard on the brakes. Everyone's safely down the road as it's Presley Sora, Mario Morindo, Steve Offot, Mark Rapillis, and Brandon Brown, all the guys that they did not pit on the lap 36 caution. So they'll have a decent sized pack with them, but I think everyone else, they're kind of riding that fine line of needing to pit or not, but I'd imagine just the way that everyone's going, there might be one, maybe two guys that save fuel if the run is about 50 laps. So again, we'll see how this plays out. These guys are hoping for a caution.
Just walking that tightrope if you're those guys who are at the front, those 5 who just came down pit road, gonna relinquish all of that track position, but in hopes that either a yellow or a green flag cycle could get them right back in the mix. And everybody up leading this race now, main pack, Corey Deucer's got the control of it over Ryan Vargas and Blake McCandless. They have been running the inside lane, so not with that Dale line right up against that outside safer barrier, Dylan. They're running close to that yellow line, which somehow indicates sometimes that you'll be running to pit road at some point. But here comes Deucer up top. It looks like he just listened to me, just trying to switch lines here up and down. I'm not sure whether he's trying to break the draft or not.
I think they were just trying to get more room at the bottom, but it almost looked like that. As you see everyone in single file now. The only one that this is going to hurt if they're trying to save gas is Corey Deucer, because he's leading this line as they're having to maneuver around lap traffic with Steve Offbach. You know, he held his line, he was predictable, but I might have went at the top there. But I understand what he was doing. He was trying to bunch up the field just so he could get a little bit of an extra run. He is ahead of the leader right now, so he would not need the lucky dog if caution came out. But I would have to imagine a lot of these guys that just pitted, they will get caught by this pack. But I think they're going to try to run up front and just see what they can do.
That was an awkward situation there by Corey Deucer. He backed up to get to the rear bumper of the 54 of Affont, but instead just let everybody behind him check up. And it's now pushed him further outside of the top 5. He'll get help from his teammate in Michael Fisher, but they will all remain single file, and that could have been a huge disaster had it gone wrong. But this time Ryan Vargas holds on to the race lead. Monin Rahman, the lap car right behind him, breaking up Vargas and McCandless back to second place. Next car in line will be the 9 of Brandon House. So make that another lap car in the mix and should pick up Brandon Brown in the 12 further up the road if we stay green. But House will stay out of the way of the leaders. He'll take to the outside lane here at Talladega at the trial hole. Everybody will zoom on past.
So another battle to watch here is all these cars that are going to get lapped and just hit is the fight for the lucky dog. So if let's say all these cars just go to the front and they're just ahead of the leaders, and they'll just stay on the lead lap. But you have to remember that it's a big battle because there's no guarantee that everyone is going to pit. I would imagine you might have someone that try to stretch it or just be spiteful and try to keep everyone out if there's a caution here. But you know, that's another battle to watch out for, is who that lucky one is.
And you're looking at the man who's holding on to the last lead lap spot in the field, Steve Offont, who had control of the front, led some laps here at Talladega, but unfortunately, of course, had to hit pit road at some point. The time came for him with the other cars around him, now back in 22nd after starting in 17th. So Ryan Vargas will take the lead of this race, and this is going to be monumental with 17 to go, just because Vargas and company are around 28, 27 laps in on their stint from the fuel tank, and we've got around 17 laps to go. You can probably go to lap 44, 45 on your tank of fuel before you ultimately have to come down. Vargas staying behind lap traffic is a solid ploy because you can save as much fuel as possible and still stay up in the lead if nobody goes around you. You've also got a lap car right behind in the form of Monin Rahman, car number 44. Seems like you've got a nice buffer if you're the 26 of Vargas to save fuel and lead some laps.
Yeah, Rano's in a good spot right here, like you said. You know, he's able to save gas and just let Mana do all the work here. He's pushing around, but also getting the suck from Steve Offon up here. So Ryan Vargas still in a good spot. Otherwise, he'd just be leading the front of this pack and blowing through a lot of gasoline. But in this case, you know, he's got the best of both worlds. You know, another Hannah Montana reference. As Ryan he's also leading, but he's also got to draft someone here to save fuel. So him and Blake are really in favorable position.
Now, the case is whether guys like Blake McCandless or Matt Stallman, if they'll get tired of this single file train, right? Of course, they are in the same boat where they kind of have to save fuel. They're in the same pit strategy realm as Ryan Vargas, the race leader, but could be a chance where somebody gets a big run, they don't want to ignore it, and all of a sudden you've got side-by-side battling for the race lead in the mix of lap traffic. They're going to catch up to Brandon Brown here, might put him also a lap down. We'll see what he does as the leaders catch up to him. But look back a couple of cars behind Blake McCandless, and you'll find that green number 96 machine of Colin Fern Dillon. Look at the huge rebound that Fern has had over this race. He started 13th, but spent all of tonight in the back of the field waiting for everybody to wreck it up. But as the strategy is unfolded, this FRS Racing number 96 with the Philadelphia Eagles colors on board has been able to slowly but effectively move up. He's got a top 5 spot.
Like I said, Colin, he speaks his mind, but he cerebrally is pretty smart compared to a lot of people here. He's thinking 2 steps ahead. He was earlier, he was right at the edge of the pack where he was like, man, I'm just gonna wait for these guys to wreck. They didn't wreck, and he was like, oh, I'm just gonna make up spots. But his race right now is going about as good as Monday Night Football game between the Eagles and Seahawks is going. The Eagles are leading that one currently, but Colin Fern, he's in a good spot right now, and I think, again, I'd have to do some checking, but I would say that they're awful close to being able to make it if this goes green. Now, there's a caution I think everyone pins that didn't pin under green about 5-10 laps ago. But right now, I think everyone is really close on fuel.
It's just a matter of whether you can make it all the way to the end. It's just how comfortable are you being that close to the end of the fuel window. Looks like everybody, though, seems to be okay with running the line they are right now, and they have eclipsed 30 laps on their fuel tank. So we are getting close to that danger zone if some guys are going to run out of fuel at the end of this race. And how big of an implication will that be, not only for the playoffs, but just for the result, finishing order of tonight's event. All single file as the leaders come out of turn 4. They'll cross the line for 13 laps to go from Talladega, and it is all in the hands of Ryan Vargas, the La Mirada, California native, looking for his first win of the season, trying to close out the super speedway race here in Monday Night Racing with a bang.
Like we said, Talladega's the great equalizer. We've had about 9 or 10 different guys. You think, okay, he's going to be the one that wins this race, but Ryan Vargas, the latest one, he's been doing a good job so far up front in this one. He's stayed clean. He's kept it out of harm's way, except for that one accident in front of the whole field. But he's done a fantastic job just maintaining position and just holding serve up front.
And for Vargas here, much like Raja Karuth, they've been on a Monday Night Racing win drought. The last time we saw Ryan Vargas take the checkered flag first in this series was all the way back in season 4 with the Super Late Models and Nashville Super Speedway. That was a playoff story in its own right, where Vargas was somewhat behind the 8 ball in the point standings, had to have a miraculous race go his way in order to advance into the next round. He won that race outright, made the championship at Auto Club with the Xfinity Series cars, did not close it out with an M&R title, but there was a story to be told for ages. And so for the 26th, if he can end this drought tonight, it would be absolutely huge for his chances of just closing out his last M&R season in style at the Super Speedway. Now, if anyone has something to say about it, it would be Blake McCandless, out of all people, Dylan, who has no horse in the race for the championship at all. He's been running these races to have fun. He's been experimenting. He's been doing whatever everyone else won't. Homestead and Miami Speedway was a proper example of that, where he ran every single lap, 1 to 166 at the very top, ripping the boards in South Florida, and it resulted in a 6th place finish. Tonight, this would be the driver, Dylan Connolly, Blake McCandless, to make this run for the win without a care in the world.
Yeah, again, this is the prime place to make up points if you're in a position like this, because you think, okay, you might have a Blake McCandless or somebody else that they could, probably think of the start of this, okay, I want to get it finished. But now, Blake McCandless probably isn't going to be too broken up to finish behind Ryan Vargas. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys, including guys that are in the points right now, trying to go through all the numbers. Colin Fern, I mean, he's going to have a good night. He's leading his group right now, and he's like, 4th place wouldn't be too bad right now. Corey Deucer's having a good point tonight. Michael Fisher, another one. He's 11 points behind Presley Soren. Right now, as it runs right now, he would be leading Group D if the race ended right now, but thankfully it doesn't end right now. We have 9 laps to go coming next time by.
And for Blake McCandless, just want to correct myself there, was a 7th place finish at Homestead, not 6th place. It was a close fight between him and Presley Sora near the end of that event, but McCandless fell short. Still a top 10 finish to note of, especially when you consider that he was the only guy really running the top for every single lap. But you make a great point there, Dylan. Points are going to matter, and if you just hang where you're at, good points day just might be all that you can desire here in the waning laps. But we are building an outside lane. All of a sudden, Brandon Houff moved up top. He saw in his rearview mirror the 30 car of Christopher Tate go up there with a boatload of help. Now they're going to make a charge here, potentially for the top spot. They'll settle back to single file on the inside, but they're just using that draft to propel them further. And there's Blake McCandless, first driver up.
Blake McCandless is going to go to the top here. Brandon Houff, again, I think that the number finally clicked, like, okay, we're going to make it, so I think it's go time. So it's going to put the pressure on guys up front, mainly guys that are lapped out by Ryan Vargas and everybody else, but I think it's go time. I think everyone's convinced that they can make it.
And look at the drivers manning the outside this time through. Blake McCandless, non-playoff driver. Brandon Houff, non-playoff driver. And that story remains the same all the way back to the 0-1 of Josh Slate, the worker for Spire Motorsports. And all of these drivers, most of them looking for their first career Monday Night Racing win. And Houff is going to propel the 71 of Blake McCandless to the lead. 8 laps to go.
Blake's got that sucker moving right here. You can hear him on Tuesday nights on the NASCAR broadcast. He does a fantastic job, him and Evan Soko. I mean, Blake's also a pretty good wheelman. He was in the Pro Series a couple years ago. You can also hear him on the Cars Tour, on Flow Racing, the main commentator. So, Blake's making a name for himself in the virtual world and the real world.
Now the question is, can he hold on for much longer? Because here's the run by Jordan Buster, the Canadian. Big run with Josh Slate pushing him right behind. And Jordan Buster, new race leader, coming to 7 laps to go. Ryan Vargas got trapped in the middle just a couple of laps ago from the lead. He's found himself back in it, and so has Matt Stolnick. We saw him take the lead earlier in this race. Now what can he do? Can take control here. 7 left.
Well, Mario Miranda, I believe, had to pit again. I think he was a little short on the fuel number that he originally thought, so he had to top off. He's still 1 lap down. But you look up front here, all the guys that have pitted under green earlier, about 10, 15 laps ago, they're hoping, they're pleading for a caution, because I would imagine a lot of these guys up front, I think that they're going to, hit if there was a caution that comes out here the next couple laps. And one famous wrestler once said, I think business is about to pick up.
These drivers are going to stand on their business here, riding on board with the race leader, Jordan Buster. And in this group of cars, a lot of them have never seen a checkered flag in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach 10 Digital. They have never been called as an M&R race winner, and in a season that's been filled with first-time drivers heading to victory lane. When you think about the Nick Olsons, the Mario Mirandas, the Connor Berrys of the world, the Cole Cabrys of the world too, you might add to the list these guys, Buster, Slate, McCandless, maybe even Christopher Tate, these drivers who have been chugging around all night long with a possibility to win tonight. Slate gives the shove to Buster. It is all single file on the Alabama Gang super stretch as we'll cross the line next time by for 5 laps to go.
Now we're in that spot where I think everyone's just wanting to get to the white flag, or at least try to formulate a plan with as few laps to go as possible. I don't think anyone wants to wreck right now, but I think once it gets 2 to go, I think all bets are off.
And when you're thinking, Dylan, of drivers third on back as these 4 cars pull away from the rest of the field to turn 1, what kind of game plan are you thinking about? What conversations are you having if you're teammates, or even if you're just in a voice chat together? What kind of things are you talking about to develop that plan and facilitate it with only 4 laps left?
I saw tandem drafting working a lot in practice. If let's say I'm Blake McCandless, I'm sending a message or two to Brandon Houff or even Joshua Slate ahead of him saying, hey, why don't we work together and let's finish 1-2 in this one. But I think you might have guys that, like your Team Gritty Sports guys, your guys in the Hog Tamers, like all those guys, I think you might see them try to formulate something where they work together, whether it's on the middle or the top line, but I don't think it's going to be single file for too much longer. It's getting close to crunch time as we're coming to 4 laps to go this time by.
And tandem drafting was a phrase used into the universe by Adam Cabot last week at Homestead, Miami, when he was discussing him and Bailey Turner's chances at leading the most laps, and in his mind, hopefully going back to the checkered flag. Well, it hasn't been a race for them. Tandem drafting, like you said, Dylan, could be a huge factor with everybody riding single file, and they have somewhat separated from Brandon Brown back to the next car in line. I believe that is Corey Deucer in a number 04 machine. Not sure how much they will have left to make a run and get back up to the front, but for the moment, heading for 3 laps to go in this Sunday Circle Farm 80. The race is in the hands of Jordan Buster, Josh Slate, Blake McCandless, your current top 3.
I think the guy that's in the worst shape right now is Jordan Buster. I don't think you want to lead this race. Josh Slate have a little internet issue. We had a car in the back pitting right now. I think it was Corey Deucer. Yeah, Corey Deucer coming down pit road. But right now, Jordan Buster, he's in not a favorable position. I think the guy that's seriously in the best spot is Blake McCandless, because he has a guy behind him, nothing to lose. He's a lap down. You might see him try to make things spicy up here. Ryan Vargas going to try something too, but I think your guys like Joshua Slate and Jordan Buster, they're just sitting ducks right now. Vargas goes to the top.
There he goes, bringing the 41. Matt Stallneck with him. They'll have Christopher Tate right behind, making it 3 or 4. Now 5 cars at the very top lane. Buster will see 2 to go from Dega.
Again, if you're Jordan Buster, I'm not even concerned about what's going on ahead of us, as Gary Sexton having to come down pit road. You're starting to see a lot of guys not being able to make it, so I think they're right on that fuel number as they come to 2 to go this time by.
Well, here comes Ryan Vargas at the front from the help with the 41. And Matt Stallneck, Christopher Tate behind Ryan Vargas. Back to the race lead in turn 1.
I mean, this is going to get interesting. Who knows if someone runs out of fuel or not? I mean, this, because they're passing, I couldn't tell who that was. That is Ryan Vargas still leading the race here, but now the pack is short to about 11 cars up front. And again, who knows what everyone's fuel number's at? You can see someone that's leading off like in the middle of the tri-oval end up not winning the race because they ran out of gas.
Well, here we go. Only 1 lap left to settle it. Here from Talladega Super Speedway, they're 3 wide in the back of this pack, and there goes Brendan Houff. Entrance to pit road, 2-car tandem up front. Ryan Vargas sees the white flag.
You know, I think at this point, I don't give a darn about the fuel number. I think I'm just going. At this point, it's just go. There's no more saving. As it's getting real dicey up front here as Vargas goes from the bottom to the top, back to the bottom.
And Vargas trying to hold on to it at the exit of turn 2. There's the big run at the top. Christopher Tate, will he do anything with it? No. Here comes the 71 of McCandless. They bump and make contact. We're 3 wide for position inside the top 5. The 3 cars still give the momentum to the bottom lane and to the 26 of Ryan Vargas, whose last win came in season 4 of M&R competition, looking to get back to victory lane. Here's the tip out of turn 4. The tri-oval. Christopher Tate has the run. McCandless gets the bump. Drag race to the start-finish line. Ryan Vargas is going to hold on. And for the first time since season 4, Monday Night Racing event goes to Ryan Vargas, winning the Sunday Circle Farm 80.
What a dang finish. I mean, Ryan Vargas, he played that perfectly. He made it wide down the backstretch. He took the fastest line to the bottom. I mean, that was a masterclass on what to do at the end of a race by Ryan Vargas there. The other thing, if, you know, and we'll point it out when the replay comes out, you know, Christopher Tate, you know, he about won that sucker. As we're going to get a look at the last lap right here. He went to the bottom, to the top, and came back to the bottom. That Stallneck about got turned and about made that race a whole lot easier. So you had, yeah, I mean, there was just a lot going on, but everyone, those moves kind of jacked up the line, so there was really no set line, so it was really just wherever the momentum's going. I mean, they're playing bumper cars there for 3rd place. So the smart thing Vargas did was go to the bottom where the line is set up the best, and he just rode it out. Now, look at the trial, and there's one thing that I think really hurt Christopher Tate's chance here, as we're going to come to this entrance of the trial. But if we, and you're on board with him, he gets the big run on him, but he leaves a big gap between him and Ryan Vargas instead of just trying to side draft him. And that allowed Ryan Vargas to get the win there because he had the momentum. But I think if Christopher Tate aggressively side drafts him, I think Christopher Tate should wear it tonight, not Ryan Vargas. But congratulations to Ryan.
And you can especially the 30 car, just getting close to side draft range on that 26 right as they were crossing the start-finish line. You imagine, Dylan, if he was there a little closer to that 26, maybe a couple of 100 feet further back, he would have had either a nose ahead or a nose even with Ryan Vargas. It would have been a way closer race. But props to the field, keeping it clean to the checkered flag. And for Ryan Vargas, but an unbelievable hold-off on the rest of the field, charging through to get a win here at Talladega Super Speedway. Critical path security machine back in victory lane. And for Vargas, that is career win number 6 in Monday Night Racing. Phenomenal job by the La Mirada, California native of Ryan Vargas, who gets to celebrate. It's been such a long time since we've seen him in victory lane. Now we're going to hear everything from Vargas, his perspective of it all, and every bit of the celebrations as he will come across to the start-finish line, burning it down and just giving all the happiness out after this huge win after 80 laps from Dega. What a chaotic one that was. Let's take a look at the unofficial race results here in the Sunday Circle Farm 80 from Dega, and by 12th 100ths of a second, it is Ryan Vargas taking the win over Christopher Tate. Phenomenal job by both of those to run cleanly to the start-finish line. Jordan Buster held on to the lead in the waning laps, could not hold on to it, but the 3rd place is certainly a win for him. Matt Stallnick in the 41 back to 4th place at the end of it. Nick Olson bounced around a lot through the race, but came home with a top 5 finish. Blake McCandless back in P6 after starting in 18th place. Then the first playoff driver that we see basically in a while, Adam Cabot in the 17 car, quietly finishing in 7th place. Colin Fern behind him in 8th. Bailey Turner to come home in 9th place. And Chase Caber, who started 20th in the event, led a couple of laps, closes out the top 10.
So we go throughout the rest of the field. Leighton Sabile making his first start of the year, start on the pole. He's going to finish in 11th. Corey Heim, kind of a quiet night for Corey. Finishes in P12. Cole Cabrey, P13. Jordan Black, the 00 machine, finishing P14. Michael Fisher, who led a decent amount of laps here tonight, finishing P16. Mario Miranda, 17. Sorry, Gary Sexton finishing 16. Mario Miranda in 17th position. He led a good chunk of the race, but him, along with Presley Soar and Corey Deucer, fell victim to strategy calls that did not go the right way. And then back at 20th, first car 1 lap down. Brandon Brown is the rest of the field. A lot of victims of attrition there, Kevin.
Back at 21st, it will be Steve O'Fawn, the 54, who ultimately fell victim, like you said, Dylan, as well, to pit road strategy at the end. Josh Slate is 22nd. Mark Rabillas is 23rd. Brandon House, who had to pit late in the race, is 24th. Owen Rahman is 25th. It'll be 26th place for Reed Wilson, technically, but that is Joey Padgett behind the wheel. Stephen Ellis is 27th. Raja Karuth is 28th. James Bickford will have to have a miracle happen at Richmond, and if he wants to advance to the next round of the playoffs, he is 29th. And Connor Berry also needing the same fate to happen in Virginia. He rounds out the top 30 here from Talladega Super Speedway. More on the other side here on Podium Esports. Post-race coverage, we'll talk to the top 3 and your winner, of course, Ryan Vargas, here on Podium Esports. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a moment.
Let's give Mach 10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway, where after 80 contentious laps, it is Ryan Vargas who hoists the trophy in victory lane. And for the first time since season 4, Ryan, you get back to the winner's circle here in competition. Does the long wait make this feel much sweeter, or what's the case here? What are your emotions after the victory tonight?
Man, I didn't expect to win. How about that? That was cool. No, it just feels really good. This is I finally got Critical Path Security, a Monday Night Racing win. I was wearing the most hated merch, and speaking of merch, if y'all haven't got it, we put a monster truck on a shirt. Go get one. RyanVargasBrand.com. But no, it's been absolutely great. Had a blast racing with Leighton, Corey Heim, and Monin. We were playing our strategy to the best of our ability, and I just went with like 2.5 laps to go, and I was just thinking to myself, like, man, I think I have like a quarter of a lap to the good, and hoped. And sure enough, by the time I took the checkered, I think I got in the middle of turn 2 and it started stuttering after the checkered. So I didn't have much there, but I played that race as best as I could. I love super speed racing, man. It's some of my favorite form of racing. You know, it's like chess at a high speed. So just thrilled to get Critical Path and victory lane.
Not sure if it was chess or just an all-out war there in the last 2 laps, because you had everybody around you. I mean, Jordan Buster, Christopher Tate, Blake McCandless around you trying to make those moves. What was actively going through your mind there? I mean, you were thinking also about the fact that fuel was going to be a concern and you were really close to the edge of that limit, but also what was going through your head while trying to actively fight all the packs that were trying to build up around you and get through?
Well, the good thing about it is this next gen can take a hit, you know, when it comes to bump drafting or slam drafting, I would say. So whenever I had a guy had a run behind me and I felt like I could block it within a reasonable amount, I could, and I did. And I wouldn't put myself or anybody in a bad spot per se, but you know, be able to stall out some runs. And I did a little bit in 1 and 2 on the final lap, did a little bit going at the beginning of the backstretch, and then I finally got shoved back down to the bottom. And I knew Matt really didn't have any other options, so I was just like keying up on the radio, like push, push, push. I could take it. I could take the push. Hit me, hit me, hit me, and it worked. We got Critical Path, Charlotte Phoenix, Williamsburg Contracting, and Victory Lane.
And in the context of the playoffs, third in your Group C with Joey Padgett, Chase Cabry, Connor Berry, I can imagine this is going to be huge momentum for you heading into the late model stocks at Richmond in just a couple of weeks after the Christmas break. What's that approach there as you take some time off with the rest of the M&R field and get back to work trying to advance to round 2?
Look, I'm just stoked I won a race finally, man. It's been too freaking long. I don't like. I think the last one was that Nashville win or something like that years ago. So
Yeah.
no, it just feels good to actually get a win. I mean, the field's pretty stacked this year. We got a lot of good competition. I know Chase and his team, Chase and Cole and their team, they're pretty good. You know, everybody's kind of up their game, especially at the speedways this year. I mean, I thought, obviously at the back things were getting a little crazy, but I thought up front, the racing was probably some of the best I had seen. So, just overall, like that was a lot of fun. I love racing these next gens on there. I've been absolutely milking Carb Cup just for fun. I do it on stream all the time. So I guess all those laps in Carb Cup paid off tonight.
I know, and Draftmaster too. I know that's fixed. Everybody's
Yes.
jumping in on that over the last weekend. One thing I want to bring up before we let you go and continue your celebrations and before the holiday season approaches, I think it's a good time to be Ryan Vargas right now. You had the Sunday merch drop with the
Mm-hmm.
Toyota Tundra TRD Pro on the monster truck chassis. You had the video of Sunday, Sunday, Sunday
Yeah.
on that. I think it's sell on Sunday, win on Monday, and the sales will go up from there. So it's a great time to be you right now, Ryan. Congratulations on the win. We wish you a happy and safe Christmas holiday season and Happy New Year before we see you at Richmond. Congratulations on the victory. Huge one for you tonight.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Buy the merch and donate to Faces Cranio, the Faces National Cranio Facial Association. Great group of people. Figured that this is just before the holidays, so please be, if you feel like being giving this holiday season, please check out Faces National Cranio Facial Association.
All right, Ryan, we certainly appreciate the time. Congratulations on the win. We'll see you in the new year at Richmond.
Thank you.
So Ryan Vargas, the winner tonight at Talladega, having to hold off hefty competition. One of those drivers he had to beat to the start baseline was Christopher Tate. In the 30, he's joined by Dylan Connolly.
Was that Dynaco all yours now?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, yeah, we got Christopher Tate here. Christopher Tate finishing 12 thousandths of a second away from his first Monday Night Racing victory. I still can't get over that. But Christopher, you started
pretty close to the back in 25th position. You were staring at the checkered flag and you were leading. If the start finish line was in a normal spot like it is at most racetracks, you'd have won. But sadly, it's at the end of pit road. I mean, what was the strategy throughout the race?
Honestly, just try not get involved in a wreck. It was kind of hectic there for the first half, 3/4 of the race, and I came close a few times to being involved in some stuff. And that was mainly just the plan was just trying to stay out of trouble and hopefully try and be there at the end. Ended up turning into a fuel mileage race, and probably the last 20 or so laps, I was sitting there just counting laps and numbers and trying to calculate all that. So I ended up saving a little bit too much. Ryan said he ran out going in turn one on the last lap, so or after the checker, so he barely edged me out on it. Uh, it's a bummer, but if I'd like to lose anybody, it'd be him. So
Well, again, you came so close to that win. I mean, it was such an exciting race. When you got down to 5 to go and it was just a single file race, what were you trying to formulate going into those last 5 laps to try to get to the front?
yeah, so I was working with Nick Olson. We were sitting there drafting, just trying, like I said, save fuel, and I noticed that the second group they fell back about 2 seconds, so I felt like we were kind of good in that aspect of things. We had several lap cars up there, so plenty of cars to get runs with. So it was all about really just timing out the run, but making it before somebody else did, to where we before we got pinned down to the bottom. Um, from that point, it was really just trying to methodically make your way up there, not get caught behind somebody, and not hook somebody. I came pretty close to hooking Stallnick right there and on the last lap, and luckily that didn't happen. But it's just a bunch of hard racing and just really trying to get there to the end.
So one last thing before we let you go. Anybody you want to thank here tonight, Christopher?
Yeah, first of all, 3F Racing, as y'all all know, they helped me out in late models. Ryan Vargas helps out with the development side on that. T-Top Manufacturing for sponsoring me all throughout my career and dirt bikes and everything. That about does it.
Well, Christopher Tay, congratulations on your second place finish tonight. Good luck the rest of the way of the season.
I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
That was Christopher Tate, driver of the number 30 machine this evening. Again, so close to that first ever Monday Night Racing victory. And I think Kenneth Bueno is going to stand by with our third place finisher, Jordan Buster.
Close can be descriptive of Jordan Buster's run tonight. And Jordan, I have to imagine this race, I mean, monumental in the way you were able to finish it, leading some laps in that main pack as it was all coming down to a close. What was your strategy there, running behind Stallneck and company as the laps just came down to 2, then to the white flag?
Well, in the final run to the finish there, I was kind of biding my time there a little bit, really being real patient all race long, and I knew it was going to be a tight fuel situation at the very end. I was confident that I was going to be able to make it. When I was at the tail end of that lead pack with about 30 to go, 20 to go, and then with about 10 to go, my teammate and I, Josh Slate, and our help from Stephen Ellis as well, we failed with about 10 laps to go to the outside and made it all the way from the back to the front, held the lead as long as we could there. And once I saw Vargas and Stallnick coming from the outside, I knew there was no blocking that. And at that point, I was just hoping for the best, hoping get a good finish here. And yeah, overall it was a good run to the finish. Made it on fuel, no problem, and had my best finish of my career here. So pretty proud of our efforts.
Certainly best career Monday Night Racing finish. You did it in style. And I want to talk about the huge run that you had in the mid-pack. You were not leading this race. You, Joshua Slade and company, were just hanging back. But as everyone was saving fuel, you guys said, let's go. You guys went up top, and it was a huge charge you all made to get right to the front. What was that like to move up and to constantly make that decision of, let's go, let's go, let's go. It's our time to move.
Yeah, and we were talking about that with about 20 to go, 15 to go or so, and we had our, I'd say, crew chief tonight, Brendan Madonia, helping us out there with our strategy, and Josh and I were talking about it as far as when would be the right time to make the move, and I thought maybe the Cabries would be making a move a lot earlier because it seemed like those two were getting hooked up, and we were thinking about maybe waiting on them, but we felt confident that if we pulled out with about 10 laps to go, pull it to the outside and get the runs as best we could, as quick as we could, we'd be able to try and get up to the lead there. And again, I was confident that I was going to be able to make it on gas because we both pitted on that last caution flag and topped off and, yeah, made it all the way up to the front and almost had it.
very close to the race victory, but a third place here at Talladega has to feel somewhat like a win in a sense after the career you've had in M&R competition. Now we look forward to the next one into the new year's. Late model stocks at Richmond, bunch of other Gen 4 races, Mazda MX-5s in the mix as well. What are you looking forward to in this last stretch to February?
Hopefully with some good results like we had tonight. I mean, I know I haven't had the best of luck in this league. I would like to get a lot better and get on this software a lot more, but good runs like tonight, hopefully I can keep that up and get some solid results for the rest of the season and have something to look forward to in the near future.
Well, Jordan, we certainly appreciate the time. Have to wish you the most congratulations on this third place finish from Talladega Super Speedway. Wishing you and your family a happy and safe Christmas Day, happy holiday season, happy New Year. We'll see you in 2024 at Richmond Raceway.
You too. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for everything you do. Appreciate it.
So Jordan Buster closes out the top 3 here tonight from Talladega in our last Super Speedway race in Monday Night Racing history. That's hard to say, Dylan, after what's been so many seasons of M&R competition, and this track being ran the most out of any other track on the series. We've had 10 races here now, including this one, and that's going to be it. 10 and done as we close this one out in the Sunday Circle Farm 80. Dylan, I think we had a healthy mix of everything. We had the strategy and the mixed fuel strategy, giving drivers concerns, then the pack racing, and then that very close finish all the way to the end. Ryan Vargas getting his first win since season 4, another playoff victory as we head off to Richmond Raceway in Virginia, where we were talking about high intensity and high speed chaos. Now we're going to talk lower speed but higher intensity bumper to bumper action. We're going to get a little more intimate in a couple of weeks.
Oh, you're exactly right. One fun fact, by the way, as we finish off our 10th race and final race here at Talladega, 10 different winners here.
Yeah.
As we'll head to Richmond next week. This will be a different animal. It'll be like a mini version of Daytona. You'll have very fast, high horsepower, below the ground race cars, these late models, going in Richmond, the high banks with the new oval refresh that's come out. I've heard a lot of good things about how Richmond drives now. You know, you can drive the bottom, you can drive the middle. And I've even heard in some cars you could even work against the top, but I can't wait for this one next week. Or in 2 weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah, once again, it's usually hard to think about a week break in the middle of everything, but we know Christmas does exist. We do have to take some sort of a break before we head into the new year. That comes our way January 8th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll have the coverage for you right here on the Podium Esports Twitch page. And for the late model stocks, it's going to be in first and only race with that car in M&R history. We ran the super late models before. We've ran a bunch of other cars in the short track realm, but never the late model stock, a new addition to the iRacing sim a little while ago. We get to test them fully at Richmond, where Chase Cabry got the victory last time we were at that same speedway in Virginia. So that one's going to be a lot of fun when we return for action. So that'll do it for us here on Podium Esports for race number 10 here at Talladega Super Speedway and race number 11 here in Season 7 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series. For Ford Martin and everyone at Monday Night Racing, for Brandon Davison, Michael Hall in Race Control, for Ryan Bauer at Podium Esports, our camera builder Dougie Beard, our overlay builder Michael Hall, for Cameron Auburn on our Podium Esports social media, and for the crew on the broadcast tonight, for our producer Eddie Smith, and for my colleague in the booth Dylan Connolly. My name is Kenneth Bueno. Have a happy and safe holiday season and new year. We'll see you in 2024 at Richmond Raceway to decide the drivers that will advance to round 2 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series playoffs.